Hello everyone, welcome to Sermon Prep for the 26th Sunday of Ordinary Time, Year B. I'm sorry it wasn't uploaded onto our YouTube channel a little earlier, yesterday. But as you can imagine, coming back from holiday has been rather hectic. And so time sort of ran away with me. But I hope on this Heritage Day, this Heritage Weekend, you will find some time to listen to this, read the readings, and so come to the celebration of Eucharist on Sunday with open hearts, ready to listen and to hear what God is challenging, calling you, us, to be and to do. As you know, it is also Stewardship Month in the Archdiocese of Durban. So as we reflect on these readings, I would like you to have that in the back of your mind, because I want to structure my sermon around stewardship, generosity of heart, openness to give. Okay, so can you have that in the back of your mind? Let's have a look at the readings for this coming Sunday. The first is taken from the book of Numbers, chapter 11, verses 25 to 29. The book of Numbers gets its name from the numbers of the census taken in chapters 1 and 26 of this book. All the statistics, if you like, about the people of Israel. And so that's why it's got this name, Numbers. The psalm is Psalm 19, and the response for this Sunday is, "The precepts of the Lord are right, they gladden the heart." And I think that's really important. Important for us. Do we live with joyful, open, glad hearts? Do the ways of God fill us with joy? They should never be a burden. They should lighten our hearts. Okay, then the second reading, we continue reading from St. James's letter, chapter 5, verses 1 to 6. And then the Gospel is Mark's Gospel, chapter 9, verse 38 to 43, and then verse 45, and then verses 47 to 48. The Gospel almost can be divided into two parts. The first part very clearly mirrors the first reading from the book of Numbers. We see there Jesus' attitude reflects Moses' attitude. Okay, Moses was challenged by the 70 regarding the two who were not present and yet had started to do the same work, and we'll come to that. And Moses says, let's be open. Jesus does the same when his disciples come and worry about others doing similar things to what they are doing and yet are not part of their group. And Jesus, like Moses, says, let's be open, let's be welcoming. Okay. And so perhaps that's the next theme for this Sunday, and that it links to stewardship. Possessiveness. These groups seem almost a little silly to us, don't they? That they're worrying about people doing good things, people doing things that are of God, because they're not part of the group. This is ours. We have control of it. It shouldn't be there for everyone else. Possessiveness. And so possessiveness stands in stark contrast to Christian stewardship. Christian stewardship is about giving, about being generous, about wanting the things of God to spread throughout the world. The behaviors of the 70 and the disciples of Jesus stand in marked contrast to that. They want to hoard and keep the gifts they have received and not share it with anyone else. And so those are important lessons for us to think about, reflect on. The second part of the gospel that we have for this Sunday seems a little bit divorced from the first part, and it's perhaps because it's most probably a collection of sayings of Jesus that have sort of been put together by St. Mark to try and explain Christian discipleship, because that's effectively what we're looking at this time in Mark's Gospel. Last week we did. Today, this coming Sunday, we are doing the same thing. What does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus? And so these sayings sort of fit into that image that St. Mark is trying to give. Perhaps something interesting for you: Gehenna, hell, being thrown into this bad place. Many church historians, scripture scholars believe this was like a valley outside of the city that was used as sort of a waste dump, and it was hot and fermenting stuff and smoke coming up and that sort of thing. And so that part of the city, well, it was outside the city, came to be used as a symbol to represent what hell was like, being cast out of Jerusalem, the holy city, into the stinking pile of hot rubbish. So that's how the image comes about this hell. Okay, so that's maybe interesting for you. So the first reading, let's put a bit of context on it. Remember, Moses had done a really good job of leading the people out of slavery in Egypt, but they were really giving him a hard time. For those of us who are leaders of people, we can relate to Moses. You know, nothing you do seems to satisfy anyone. And I think Moses was feeling rather down. And so that precedes our text for today, for the Sunday, sorry. He gets together 70 elders to help him, because he's being pulled in all sorts of directions. And now he's got them gathered together in the presence of the Lord, and Eldad and Medad are not present there in the sanctuary of the Lord, are outside, and yet start to be able to prophesy and do the work of a leader, even though they weren't there. And so the others get jealous. So even the leaders now start to be, causing Moses problems. But he says, no, God works. God pours his Spirit out wherever. I think the other thing for us to remember here, it's about prophecy, and perhaps something that's not emphasized too much in our world today as Christians, that we are meant to be prophetic. In many ways, we're meant to stand out. We're meant to challenge. It's not comfortable. We don't like it. Many of us want to run away from being prophetic, but we are prophetic. And that being prophetic is in many ways an independent thing. We cannot let ourselves be, our prophecy, our standing up for right, be swallowed up by positions of leadership, of being comfortable, because sometimes leaders are the problem, and we need to speak prophetically even to leaders. So it almost emphasizes the independence, if you like, of being a prophet. Okay. St. James's letter. It's clear in St. James's letter here, it builds on from last week, that St. James, he's most probably writing to Jewish Christians not in Palestine, not in the Holy Land, but rather more scattered. He's speaking to them. So they've really been influenced by the things of the Gentile world. And St. James is making it very, very clear that we have to be doers of the word and not just speakers of the word. We've got to put our money where our mouth is. We've got to live prophetically, and being Christians living prophetically, we need always to be conscious of the poor, the downtrodden, the suffering. We mustn't be swallowed up by the attractions of the world. And so I think in St. James's letter there really are echoes of the rich man and Lazarus. We know the story. The poor man, Lazarus, sitting at the table foot of the rich man dives and not getting the scraps. We know that story. It also has echoes of the sheep and the goats in Matthew's Gospel. Did you clothe? Did you feed? Did you visit? All those things. The poor. And the downtrodden and the outcast. So that the story of this sheep and the goats, but also I think the Beatitudes in Matthew's Gospel, isn't it? So St. James, you can definitely hear, he's read the Gospels, he knows Matthew's Gospel certainly, and he's now saying those stories of Jesus, those parables of Jesus, they translate into this kind of behavior. We cannot be people who get swallowed up by the attractions and the luxuries of the world and neglect those who are in need. And so I think from these readings today for Sunday, you will see that there is this element of possessiveness, of accumulating and holding our gifts and talents to ourselves, but also that we are called to be generous, to give. Okay, so those are some thoughts for this 26th Sunday of Ordinary Time. I hope to see you in person, but if you can't make it, I hope you will join us online. It should be a wonderful celebration of the generosity of God, which we are called to mirror. Take care of yourselves, be safe, and enjoy your long weekend. Bye-bye, everyone.